What's up, you guys? Ross Sapp, managing editor, FightfulMMA.com. We have UFC Sao Paulo this weekend. We have Bellator 234 this weekend. I'm going to give you some betting odds for some of these shows. You have Austin Vanderford, also known as Mr. Paige Van Zandt, a minus 700 in his Bellator 234 fight against Grashik Bozinian, a plus 460. Vanderford is being set up for a win here. Olga Rubin, a massive favorite, a minus 325 against the plus 250 Sinead Kavanaugh. Women's MMA is a little bit more unpredictable, but I think Olga Rubin's going to win here. You have Sydney Outlaw, a gigantic favorite, and this is not an accident. Minus 650 against the plus 440 Roger Huerta, who is infinitely more famous. Bellator wants Sydney Outlaw to get a win here. He is. Then you have Sergey Haratonov, a minus 240 against Linton Vassell, a plus 180. Vassell, a plus 180 as a former light heavyweight. Haratonov is one of the most biggest unsung heroes in heavyweight history. I think he's going to pick up a win here. We also have UFC Sao Paulo Saturday night with some decent names. It's an okay show. Nothing that exactly the mainstream is going to take note of, so to speak. But you have Tracy Cortez, a minus 200 over Vanessa Mello. That's who I have winning that one. You have Ariana Lipski, a plus 105 underdog against the minus 125 Veronica Macedo. I don't doubt that Lipski can pick up the win here, but I like this line right where it is. Randy Brown, a plus 100 against Warlley Alves, a minus 120. A Warlley Alves who owns a victory over Colby Covington, but has never quite been the same guy. He came into the UFC and looked like he was a wrecking machine, looked like he was a killer. He beat Alan Jouban, Nordine Taleb, and Colby Covington, and that's quite a row of people. But then Brian Barberena changed everything. Of course, losing to Kamaru Usman is okay, and that's going to happen. Losing to James Krause will also happen, but he's been very inconsistent ever since the Barberena loss. I think he's going to end up picking up the win, though. But Randy Brown is in that same boat. But I would have Warlley Alves a little bit further ahead. Ricardo Ramos, a minus 260 against the plus 220 Eduardo Garagorri. I think Ricardo Ramos runs away with this one. James Krause getting a little love from the bettors. He is a minus 185. Sergio Moraes is a plus 160. James Krause has turned into one of the better coaches in the country, and it's pretty easy to forget that the guy is on like a pretty insane streak. Like since 2015, his only loss was on the Ultimate Fighter Season 25 to Jesse Taylor. And Jesse Taylor, as we know, got popped for being on some shit. Otherwise, on Tough, he won against Johnny Nunez and Ramsey Nijem, has beaten Warlley Alves, has beaten Alex White, has beaten several people. Shane Campbell, when Shane Campbell was looking good. Darren Cruikshank. He doesn't have an actual pro loss since 2015, and that was a split decision. There's that controversial kick loss to Bobby Green after everything that went down there, and then he dropped a fight to Masvidal. But this guy has been very good for a very long time, and I think he's emerging victorious. Markus Perez, a minus 120 favorite against Wellington Turman. Not a lot of people looking for that one, but I think Perez wins it. Andre Muniz, a minus 110. Antonio Arroyo, a minus 105. This is a pick'em. Then you have Charles Oliveira, the biggest favorite on the show at minus 355 against the plus 295 Jared Gordon. Now, here's the thing with Oliveira. He has been remarkably consistent in the cage. He's won 5 straight. He looks great at lightweight. But you got a guy who, I don't want to say his back is against the wall in Jared Gordon, but this was an interesting booking. All due respect to Jared Gordon, who I think is an A-plus dude, booking Charles Oliveira, who has won 5 in a row, against Jared Gordon, who is 1-2 in his last 3, was confusing. 3-2 overall in his UFC career. Charles Oliveira should run away with this. But if the UFC booked this, and this wasn't like a late notice replacement or anything like that, it was just booked. then this will go down as one of the dumbest booking ideas in recent memory. If things don't go according to the UFC's plan, so to speak. Charles Oliveira's on a hot streak, man. He ain't that far removed from a title shot. So all due respect to Jared Gordon, but Oliveira shouldn't be fighting Jared Gordon. This is one of his least high-profile fights on this winning streak. He's beaten Clay Guida, Jim Miller, and Nick Lentz along the way. Outside of Christos Giagos, this is his lowest profile fight during this period. Confusing. Mauricio Shogun Hua, a minus 270 favorite against the plus 230 Paul Craig. I mean, can you ever count a guy out when they're facing someone who's got the cage miles and the age that Hua does? He's 37 years old. He can't stay in the cage. Paul Craig is a tough dude. He's a tough dude, but he's also inconsistent. But here's the thing. He goes in there to fight. You know how many decisions he has in his UFC career? Try none. Won in an armbar against Henrique de Silva. Beat Ankalaev with 1 second left in the fight. Beat Nchekwu with a triangle in the third round. Tapped out Vinicius Moreira in the first round. But he also dropped fights via finish to Jimmy Crute, Khalil Roundtree, Tyson Pedro, Alonzo Minifield. You seeing a bit of a recurring theme in their skill set there? Seems as if he runs into some trouble with people that have some sort of acumen on the feet, especially with Tyson Pedro and Khalil Roundtree. Shogun Hua has that. Who knows if he'll bring that, but he has that. Shogun Hua, for better or for worse, has won 4 of his last 5, but has had just a ton of fights canceled. He had that knee injury in 2017. Then Ozdemir couldn't get into the country. Ozdemir got rebooked after that. Then you had Alves pull out. And then finally they settled on Paul Craig. And Shogun even pulled out of the Rashad fight early on. Like, it seems like an annual tradition that a fight or an opponent is pulled from a Shogun Hua fight. It never seems to go the way it's supposed to. He needs this win if he wants to ever get back close to a title shot. Ever. Speaking of needing a win, Renan Barao is plus 200 against Douglas Silva de Andrade, and he needs this win real bad. Real bad. Right now, Renan Barao is just a fable. He is a name. You can coincide it with USADA or whatever you want, but this guy is 32 years old. He's younger than Tony Ferguson, and he might be done. He is 1-6 in his last 7. TJ Dillashaw changed this man's life. He got finished by Luke Sanders this year. He's been taken to the scorecards a bunch. Like, the Luke Sanders thing is where it really came unglued, because it wasn't him getting outpointed by great fighters like Aljamain Sterling or exceptional fighters like Jeremy Stevens anymore. It was him getting beaten in 2 rounds to a guy like Luke Sanders. He's got to win this fight, or I think he's Bellator bound. Or PFL bound, maybe. And they're lobbing him up a softball here. Douglas Silva de Andrade is 1-2 in his last 3. Has been finished. Is not like a top-level guy. Has never been in title contention. This is an opportunity for Barao. If he can't beat Andrade, he's got to go. Got to go. Bobby Green, a plus 105 rather, against Francisco Trinaldo, a minus 125. We know that Bobby Green can beat about anybody there is. We know that it's possible that he can beat about anybody there is. It's just a matter of will he do it. He's another guy that has had trouble in the past getting in the cage. He got injured last year, pulled out of the Guida fight, pulled out of the Dariush fight. He, for personal reasons, completely understandable, pulled out of his fight with Josh Berkman. In 2015, he had tore his ACL. He tore his quad a few months before that. And the year before that was absolute trash fire. He got hurt and couldn't fight Trujillo. He got hurt and couldn't fight Jim Miller. The entire UFC 176 got canceled. He got rescheduled and pulled from the Trujillo bout the third time they tried to schedule it and got moved to the Thompson fight. Then there were more opponent switches when he was supposed to fight Masvidal. Then he got switched again when he was supposed to fight Cerrone. Like, the dude has a record of either bad luck or injuries. So it's possible this fight just still doesn't happen. Like, crazier things have happened. Trinaldo is 41, and at some point, it just goes, man. And it seemed like over the last few years, that's been it. Top-level opponents, Kevin Lee, James Vick, Alexander Hernandez have beaten him, but he's still beating guys like Jim Miller and Evan Dunham. That leads me to believe that Francisco Trinaldo will win this. Jan Blachowicz is a minus 190 favorite over Jacare Souza, a plus 165. If Souza wants to contend in this division, he's got to win. Bottom line, he's got to win. He lost to Jack Hermanson. He's moving up. The party's over for him. He is not the Jacare Souza that was long overdue for a title shot in 2015. He is now Jacare Souza, who is 4-3 in his last 7. And he's beaten Chris Weidman, he's beaten Vitor, he's beaten some guys at the end of their rope. He's got to win this if he wants to contend. Blachowicz needs to win this if he wants people to give a shit about him near the top of this division. And he's in a good position. Beating Rockhold and Souza, even though they're 185ers that moved up, it's a good start. He's got wins over Manawa and Krylov to his credit as well. I think the size advantage will play a role for Blachowicz. I think he's going to end up winning this fight. But it would not surprise me to see Jacare end up submitting him and winning. Leave a thumbs up on this video. Make sure you guys subscribe. We'll bring you results during the show over at FightfulMMA.com. Until next time, we're out.